Hi everyone, it's Chelsea here, bringing you another segment of Living in Southwest Florida. If you've been thinking about moving to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, or any of our surrounding areas, then you've probably done enough research to know that it's been an unusual year here for us here. And while the entire country has been experiencing roller coaster real estate markets this year, we've had some pretty unique circumstances hitting our area. So today we're going to talk about where we started the year, where we currently are as we're starting into 2023, and what I expect to see through this year moving forward. But before we jump in, really quickly, it would mean a lot to me if you go ahead and hit that like button so that YouTube algorithms share this information with others, and it lets me know what you'd like more of. As a thank you, here's a video from Planet Monkman Christmas, who is the king of Cape Coral light displays. People from all over the city come to enjoy his half-hour or so set with holiday music, and it's synchronized to holiday lights. And real quick, I wouldn't be good at my job if I didn't remind you how much we love helping people from all over the country buy and sell their homes here in Southwest Florida. So if you or anyone you know of are even thinking about moving, then feel free to use the contact info below. All right, let's jump right in. Start by discussing real estate prices in January, which were already beginning to climb. Januaries are always historically a bit busy for us, with our snowbirds beginning their return. Those who do not have winter homes here are beginning to look around and see if this is going to be the year that they buy a second home here. And knowing that the snowbirds are returning, homeowners begin to put their houses on the market. But even last year, in 2021, the market had started to accelerate. And by January, we had median sales prices up over $100,000 or 28% from January of 2021. So starting the year here in Southwest Florida, we had a median sales price of $415,250. And we got all the way up to $465,000 by May before things started to level out. And then, we threw in a hurricane in there and just shake things up. And while that sounds like I'm making light of the situation, the fact is that while the rest of the country has been speaking about housing crashes, Hurricane Ian has been a major event that happens to impact our local markets in a very unique way. Everyone has an opinion on what to expect. Some say that it's going to create a bigger crash, and others say that we can expect a bump. And since even experts can't come to a unanimous decision, we end up with doomsdayers out there with fear-mongering clickbait. It's kind of hard to talk about what we're seeing since Ian has lapsed, in part because not a lot of time has lapsed, and also data is a lagging indicator, meaning that it doesn't really show up effects until after we're starting to see them at work. Also something to consider, we're just wrapping up December, which is traditionally our slowest month of the year anyway. I've pulled these numbers the last week of December, and as I write this, we're at a median sales price of $430,000, which is roughly 10% higher than the same week we were a year prior. So while we did see prices come down from our high points this year, we are still higher than we started out, and those who bought in years prior will still find themselves up in equity respectively. So let's talk about what opportunities there are out there for buyers. Well, over the past month, interest rates have come down a tad, which is good, but really there are two main types of buyers in our market at the moment. Those who are looking for a project and those who aren't. Thanks to Ian, there's an entire segment of the housing market that is catering to investors, and the investors are responding by buying up pieces of land that normally wouldn't have been available. The fact is, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, and Pine Island will likely never be the same again, and as they rebuild with investors who can now snag up pieces of waterfront land that they couldn't before. And specifically with the islands and in Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel, those are primarily going to be developers. In other parts of town like Matlacha, Cape Coral, and Fort Myers Beach, it's been mostly mom and pop investors who aren't shy of a project. One of my recent sales in Matlacha sold to an investor who's buying waterfront property, rebuild, and then uses vacation rentals. Others are buying to fix and flip or BRRRR, buy, renovate, rent, rehab, repeat. BRRRR investors in particular are looking for long-term holds, and so they buy and hold. These investors are coming from all over. Some were here already local, but I've also seen some coming from up north and even internationally, as I'm aware of European investors and Canadian investors that have been active in our area. They also are typically paying cash because many flooded homes will not qualify for a loan. Seeing a lot of cash in our marketplace has been pretty common in recent years. Between the investors and cash buyers who have cashed out of more expensive markets, we currently have cash transactions making up almost 50% of our marketplace. The other large segment of our market at the moment is for buyers who are actively looking for the polar opposite, the completely done and ready to go home. Maybe they just don't have the stomach for repair work, or maybe they are concerned with their financing or inheriting an Ian repair. Either way, it's making new construction super enticing. Generally speaking, new construction came out of Ian with either no damage or minor bumps and bruises that were easily fixed. Plus, builders are ready to reduce their inventory, and several are offering massive incentives so that they can reduce that portfolio and reduce their expenses. For resale homes, if it hasn't had a lot of damage, then it's been most successful to get the repairs completed before selling, as waiting for insurance claims to be completed are something buyers haven't really wanted to sit around and wait for. A good thing for resale sellers moving into 2023, though, is the absence of foreclosures. Southwest Florida has always had a good chunk of cash with secondary homeowners, but especially after the past 2 years, with that number increasing, we are not seeing this as a concern. Homeowners are still very stable in their equity, so this likely won't be a market that will shift and create more need. But let's be honest, there are less home buyers out there than there were in January. It would be disingenuous not to point that out. And that's for apparent reasons. Higher interest rates will mean that buyers will be able to afford less home than they may have been able to previously plan. But being more in a balanced market isn't a bad thing. Now buyers have more options of homes than they previously had. Pre-pandemic, a home had an average of 42 days on market, and currently it has 23. And while 23 days are more than the 6 days or so that we were seeing 12 months ago, it's still well less than we had before everything went a little bonkers. So let's talk about those predictions for 2023. I think that with the interest rates being a little higher than people are used to, and there still being some unease with the marketplace, we'll see more traditional buyer pool reduced for the next 6 months or so. But that doesn't mean that our market would be bottoming out or taking the plunge that many other markets may see. Typically, we would also be seeing snowbird activity the first 3 months of the year, and while that will be a little bit less of a contributing factor this year since we won't have as many snowbirds, I do think that we'll see Ian keep us a little bit more stable than other places. Statistically speaking, areas after a natural disaster will see a spike in home prices. For example, after Charlie, which was a hurricane almost 18 years ago that hit Punta Gorda in almost the same spot Ian did, but with similar intensity and a smaller size, home prices went up an additional 10% a year after the storm. This has to do with more opportunities at varying price points, meaning that investors now have that market in a niche that didn't exist, as well as a smaller pool of properties keeping supply-demand in check. We haven't quite seen this bump yet, but while other markets are tightening up and slowing down, it is possible this will be a contributing factor to keep ours more stable. Also, according to Redfin, Cape Coral Fort Myers is number 7 in top 10 inbound places people are moving to, meaning our area does have a little bit more of a buyer pool than others may have right now, and so it's helping keep it stable. And thirdly, as we've previously discussed, homeownership here is pretty stable considering that most fully own their homes outright, or at least a lot of them do. So with these factors in play, I think we'll stay more balanced throughout the first half of the year. We may go up or down a couple of points, but I don't think we're going to see anything sliding out of whack. If you've talked to me in the past, I usually hesitate to forecast much more than 6 months at a time. Frankly, over the past few years, the housing market has been incredibly volatile. No one saw the beginning of COVID, and with the financial segments being volatile right now as well, up and down and up and down and up and down, I hesitate to give too much weight to pass the 6-month mark. But at this stage, I would expect to see in the latter half of the year for some rebounding as inflation is more under control, with a slew of new businesses moving into the area and an unemployment rate currently lower than the national average. I think once the fears out there are subsiding, we'll see buyers who are resting come back to the market with more confidence. All right, if you have questions about the data, or if you'd like to drill down and compare specific neighborhoods, like say Cape Coral versus Fort Myers, or waterfront homes or pool homes, or whatever your specific circumstances call for, then feel free to reach out to the contact information in the description below. Myself and the network of agents I have throughout the United States are here and ready to help you with your move. My video schedule can sometimes be erratic, so if you'd like more videos like this, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when we drop another one. And if you're ready to get that ball rolling on your move to Southwest Florida, then there is a link in the description below to set up a personalized home search that'll be tailored to you. Oftentimes, when you search on web aggregates, it limits your capabilities. But when I build this search, I'll have many more options available and we can begin that conversation of what your home in Florida will look like. Or feel free to use CapeCoralFortMyersRealEstate.com for all the latest listings to hit the market and begin getting comfortable with our marketplace. No obligations. And don't forget to add me on social media and follow along as we post weekly articles and information that may find handy and give you an insight as to what life in Florida looks like. As always, we really appreciate it when you leave us a comment and hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bells so that you can be notified when we drop future videos that may help you with living in Southwest Florida. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I wish you much health and happiness.